The reading is taken from John chapter 7, starting at verse 1. After this, Jesus went about in Galilee. He didn't wish to go about in Judea because the Jews were looking for an opportunity to kill him. Now, the Jewish festival of booths was near. But after his brothers had gone to the festival, then he also went, not publicly, but as it were in secret. Now some of the people in Jerusalem were saying, "Is not this the man who they are trying to kill? And here he is, speaking openly, but they say nothing to him. Can it be that the authorities really know that this is the Messiah? Yet we know where this man is from. But when the Messiah comes, no one will know where he comes from." Then Jesus cried out as he was teaching in the temple, "You know me, and you know where I am from. I have not come on my own, but the one who sent me is true, and you do not know him. I know him, because I am from him, and he sent me." Then they tried to arrest him, but no one laid hands on him, because his hour had not yet come. Now, in that reading, Jesus goes to the festival of booths, also known as Sukkot, that remembered the 40 years in the wilderness when the people of Israel were wandering about. It was when they'd left slavery in Egypt, but they hadn't yet reached the promised land. It was a time of uncertainty, a time of loss of things past, and concern about the future, what lay ahead of them. They hadn't yet reached the promised land. They didn't know what it would look like, how long they would be in this different and uncertain time. But the point is that hundreds of years later, the Jewish people were still remembering that time, remembering a time when God was with them. So, the Festival of Booths was the celebration that Jesus was going to in the Bible reading. Many years from now, we will look back on this time of great uncertainty, this coronavirus time. Perhaps it will be a turning point in the culture of our nation. Perhaps a time when we recognise the importance of community, or caring for our neighbours, of celebrating what is good and kind and loving. Yes, there will be a sense of loss and pain accompanied with this time, both financial and personal. But there will also be good things to come from this period in our nation's history. We don't yet know how this time of wilderness will change us as a nation. We don't yet know what things we will lose and what things we will gain. But one thing we do know: this too will pass. We will get through it as a nation. But there's more. Israel's time in the wilderness was a really tough time for that people, but they were aware of God's presence with them, especially in that tough time. I love that poem, Footprints, that reminds us that when times get really tough and we think that God has left us, that's when God is most close to us. Jesus, the Messiah, came to bring all people into a promised land of reunification with God. That's what the celebration of Easter is all about. And in a couple of weeks, Easter will come. It'll feel very strange being in self-isolation at a time when normally the church is gathering for the great celebration of the year. But perhaps that will help us to reflect on the true meaning of Easter, which is about the relationship between us and God that Christ enables through his death and resurrection. I'll finish with the poem by Helen Stainer Rice, "This Too Shall Pass." If I can endure for this minute whatever is happening to me, no matter how heavy my heart is, or how dark the moment may be, if I can remain calm and quiet, with all the world crashing about me, secure in the knowledge God loves me, when everyone else seems to doubt me. If I can but keep on believing what I know in my heart to be true, that darkness will fade with the morning, and that this will pass away too, then nothing in life can defeat me, for as long as this knowledge remains, I can suffer whatever is happening, for I know God will break all the chains that are binding me tight in the darkness and trying to fill me with fear, for there is no night without dawning, and I know that my morning is near. Amen.